Good afternoon, traders and investors. Will back here with another one, coming to you with a Tuesday market recap. Hope everybody had a very beautiful day. And in today's markets, guys, well, it was another very good day of healthy market rotation. Everything was pretty much in the green. SPY, QQQ, XLF, and XLV, all of our major sectors etching out some gains once again. However, the volume for the day, guys, was fairly muted, just as yesterday's trading, because people are largely waiting on the sidelines, anticipating the results from the NVIDIA earnings catalyst that we have tomorrow. That's why trading has been fairly light. NVIDIA earnings are really going to tip the scales either way, guys. It's either going to propulse us to a brand new all-time high and resume the bulls' full control of these markets, or if ever they're bad, well, we could have a little bit of a drawback here, coming down into maybe daily downtrend territory and just resetting our weekly trends for some weekly higher lows for that further trend continuation. So very, very huge day for the markets tomorrow, guys. And in today's video, we're going to do a few things. We're obviously going to go over our major technical analysis rundown in terms of our major indexes and then our big tech names. But then towards the end of the video, I will do a portfolio recap to show my trades. And we're going to spend about 5 to 7 minutes deriving some trading strategies that we may be able to use towards the NVIDIA earnings tomorrow. If ever you have low capital, I have a few little strategies and tricks to maybe get you potential trade ideas, right? None of it's going to be financial advice, just a little bit of brainstorming and a bit of thoughts as to what I'm going to be doing to play NVIDIA earnings tomorrow. So with that out of the way, guys, let's get right into today's video. SPY up about 0.25%, QQ up about 0.2%, but really the outperformance came from financials and healthcare. Financials yesterday largely bogged down by JP Morgan's 4% drop, and JP Morgan actually had a very decent day of recovery today, recovering over 2% of that. The drop yesterday was very largely overdone, and I was saying that on the video, so happy to see that we were correct in our statements that yesterday's drop was a little bit overdone. Now, in terms of our overall market performance, guys, you can see the market was fairly broad today, right? Not much outperformance except for Tesla up about 6.5%. The rest of the market fairly muted, right? The banks did have a nice little recovery day today. Big tech was fairly mixed as a whole. Meta was down, the rest was up. Amazon was down as well. Semiconductors, fairly mixed bag as well. A lot of anticipation for those NVIDIA earnings. Healthcare had a very decent day. The bottom half of the market, though, very, very mixed trade once again. Now, moving into the one-day relative performance, guys, you can see that even better. Fairly mixed market, really low volume day, but we did have some good performance on the top end here. Utilities, defensive, financials, and healthcare and technology leading to the upside. Only a few little drawback sectors here: real estate, industrials, energy, and basic materials. On the 1 week relative, guys, everything's still looking very, very good because we are obviously in daily and weekly uptrends across your S&P 500. So all in all, guys, fairly healthy day, but a lot of people just on the sidelines right now anticipating the results from tomorrow's NVIDIA earnings. So let's jump right into our technical analysis, guys, for the indexes and then our big tech names, and then let's jump into some juicy trades. So still in the context here on the SPY, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful daily uptrend. Our daily higher low is right here, 527.28. We are very close to it. So if ever tomorrow after the NVIDIA earnings, guys, we get pushed up in the all-time highs, perfect. We create a lot of space above this daily higher low to then be able to just reset for another daily higher low and push this trend even higher and higher. However, if we do get caught in a little bit of a downswing after NVIDIA earnings, well, that will be synonymous with losing the daily uptrend. Daily downtrend will be starting, and then we have a few levels to be basing off of for support. The first line of defense, right, it'll be right here at about 524.20. That is pretty much your all-time high prior resistance, should be acting as support, and your 12 EMA is right down there as well. That would be roughly a, just about a 1.3% drop on the indexes. We could pull back a little bit more, though, if the week as a whole turns red, end up with some daily downtrend, something like this. Well, guys, that'll just be very healthy weekly consolidation on our SPY. Tons of space on the weekly, guys. Anything above 494, just going to be looking for that weekly higher low for further trend continuation. So either way, guys, either way NVIDIA earnings play out, just remember that the bulls are still very much in control of these indexes. Now, moving on to QQQs, pretty much the same analysis, right? We are in a gorgeous daily uptrend on the QQQs right now. Our most recent daily higher low is right here, 449.60, and the same analysis as the SPY applies here, guys, right? If NVIDIA earnings blow it out of the water, well, we just have a much more wide amount of space above our higher low to then be able to reset for another higher low and just continue this trend higher. However, if we do roll over, it will be once again daily downtrend. Our first line of defense will be this confluence zone right here, prior all-time high resistance 448. Confluence with the 12 EMA could be a nice first line of defense. But if ever we blow past this over the remainder of the week, set the daily downtrend up, well, you guys know the drill, guys. Just going to be a very healthy weekly pullback after 5 weeks of extended rally. Could be due for just a slight little pullback here into a weekly higher low and then resume the trend later on. So all in all, guys, the bulls still well in full control of all of these markets. And the domination by the bulls continues, guys, as we move down our sub indexes here. Financials obviously still in a very healthy daily uptrend, right? Daily higher low, trying for the new daily higher low and that trend expansion as well. However, if we fail and come back too close to this 4163, it does open the door for a little bit of a daily downtrend. And if ever that happens, guys, just remember once again, it is a weekly uptrend. Just gonna be looking for that weekly higher low for further trend continuation. One good thing, we are above our previous level of all-time high resistance, this red box. So this whole area should be providing us some good support. Try to match it up with the confluence of this weekly 12 EMA right around the 4110 level. So looking very, very decent on financials. Great recovery after the drop on JP Morgan yesterday. Now moving into healthcare. Healthcare also looking like a very, very resilient sector as a whole, guys. Just some sideways consolidation at the top of the move. This is really best case scenario, guys. The bulls have done a great job here, but we are kind of just flat and sideways, right? So the daily higher low is set right here, 145.48. We are very close to it. So same logic applies as to the rest of our indexes. If ever NVIDIA earnings are good, it will probably lead into a healthcare rally as well, just because the broad market sentiment will be very bullish. I would not be surprised if healthcare gets carried up there as well. And your all-time high resistance is going to be at about 148.14. That could be the extent of the move before a little bit of a pullback, daily higher low, and maybe go move on to smash these all-time highs. However, if the counter scenario is in effect and we get the daily downtrend, guys, same logic applies. Target this level as your first line of defense prior support. This should be acting as support once again. Confluence with the daily 12 EMA is right there, guys, at about that 145 level, looking very good. And if ever we blow past this for which reason, you guys know the drill. Tons of space on the weekly. It was a weekly downtrend. We now have a very healthy move up, guys. The bulls have recaptured at this point, arguably 82% of the move so far. They've created a ton of space. So any pullback on the weekly, just going to be looking for that weekly higher low for further trend continuation. Weekly higher low, probably target this area right here, 143.16, which is confluence with your 12 EMA on the weekly. And now moving into our semiconductors. So semiconductors is obviously going to be the index that stands to move the most tomorrow with our NVIDIA earnings. So the good thing is that we've created a ton of space, guys, off these most recent lows. So semiconductors really has a wide margin of error to work with right now. We are in a gorgeous daily uptrend right now. Daily higher low is set right here at about 228.95. Let's call it 229 for all intents and purposes. And the same logic applies. If NVIDIA really blows it out of the water, daily uptrend will continue. And at that point, we'll just be looking for, when this top end of the move tops out, going to be looking for this daily higher low, maybe coming back down, retesting our prior all-time highs right around here, 240, right? The breakout, retest of the all-time highs, and continue running. However, if ever we pull back, guys, and set up the daily downtrend after the earnings, well, we do have tons and tons of support below us here, guys, right? Number one is going to be the 220, and right into after 220 comes down 216 all the way to about 210. Huge area of prior support. Could be very, very good for the markets and all the moving average in the way. And if ever we do pull down something like this, guys, you guys know the drill already. Zoom out on the weekly, guys. Weekly downtrend, engulfing move. The bulls are looking to reset the weekly uptrend. Now, whether they go all the way up here and do it like this, or they pull back after NVIDIA earnings and do something like this, the bulls are well on the way to recapturing this weekly uptrend. I would not be too worried at all. If ever we do drop, could be a great opportunity, guys, to provide some entries here for that weekly higher low and the eventual run later on in the year. I'm really not worried in terms of NVIDIA earnings, guys. NVIDIA should have a very, very good quarter. The results, or the result of their earnings, rather, in terms of how their stock price moves, is largely going to be focused on their guidance. If they're able to continuously raise the bar on already high guidance, guys, it's going to be good for the stock. But if they come in line with future guidance or slightly below, well, that's not going to be very good for the stock. This quarter is going to be good, but people are worried about the future. And the bar right now for NVIDIA is set very, very, very high. So please just remember that. Now, moving into our IWM Russell, just hesitating here, down about 0.10% today. Not too big of an issue here, guys. Really just sideways consolidation, relatively healthy in my opinion. gorgeous daily uptrend right now, still hunting for that daily higher low, still has not been set, guys. Why? Because we have never really recaptured the hourly trend through all this sideways consolidation. So still hunting for the daily higher low, anything above 202.50, just going to be looking for that daily higher low for further trend continuation. Now, same thing, guys. If NVIDIA is very bullish and brings back an extremely bullish sentiment into the market, it could topple over into our growth stocks as well. And then we'll be looking to make a play at the 212 level, acting as resistance. Maybe if we do get rejected there, just needs to set a daily higher low and maybe attack it one more time. But if the results are less than favorable, then expect the daily downtrend to be started, and then expect a little bit of weekly consolidation similar to the rest of our indexes here, guys. Just looking for a weekly higher low, anything above 191.60, weekly higher low for further trend continuation. Target this nice area of confluence. The 12 EMA is right down here at about 203, and then our red box prior support, resistance, resistance, resistance. This whole red box of confluence should be that area where the bulls do find more support if ever they need to regather a bit of momentum before attacking the 212 level once again. All in all, looking very decent. And now lastly, our Dow Jones pulling back, from the highs of last Friday's trading, but today was a green day, still in the process of hunting for the daily higher low, similar to the rest of our indexes. So looking for the daily higher low, anything above 39,400, looking for that daily higher low for further trend continuation. We are still battling with our all-time high resistance. We are not, I know we're above the level, guys, but we're not cleanly above it, right? There's no clean break, still a little bit of hesitation here at the all-time highs. So one of two things is going to happen once again, guys. Dow Jones either going to be heavily impacted to the upside by the NVIDIA earnings, at which point we may get a blast above the all-time high, retest for a future run. If ever it's negative, though, expect some further consolidation. Even if we come all the way down here into our higher low, 39,400, guys, could be setting up maybe for the daily downtrend. That would just be very healthy market consolidation on the weekly. Once again, weekly engulfing move. The bulls have tons of space. Anything above 37,700 rather is just going to be looking for that weekly higher low for further trend continuation if ever we can't blast through this top right away. So all of your indexes, guys, are set up exactly the same, whether it's the Dow Jones, whether it's semiconductors, whether it's healthcare, whether it's financials. They're all very, very nice. However, if NVIDIA earnings starts a little bit of bearishness, guys, and it'll only be temporary bearishness, just understand that the weeklies are in full control, but we're kind of getting a little bit extended in terms of 5 weeks of green, right? So if there's a pullback, it would just be very natural market price action, and we're just going to be looking for that weekly higher low for further trend continuation. All a good thing in my humble opinion. Now let's move on to our tech stocks right away. So looking into Apple, give me a very quick second. So looking at Apple here, guys, 0.69% to the upside. Apple just continues grinding higher. It really broke above after earnings, came down below, and never really looked back here, guys. Never really retested the area that we wanted this trade at, 180 to about 178, right? Now it's kind of out of reach. It just ran away from us, right? So daily uptrend very healthily up in motion right now. Still just hunting as soon as this move is topped out, looking for the daily higher low, anything above 189, daily higher low for further trend continuation. Now, where would we maybe run into a bit of resistance, guys? It's all the way up here at your prior all-time highs, 195 up to the 200 area. This is the area that the bulls are going to encounter the most resistance. Similar though, if ever after NVIDIA earnings, the market has a little bit of a drawback, well, Apple could be setting up maybe for a daily downtrend, which would just be a very healthy opportunity, guys, to set up for the weekly higher low for that further trend increase. And if ever we get that extended pullback here, guys, down to the lower 180 area, that is going to be a juicy setup, maybe for some long-term calls, because look, we were in a weekly downtrend and now the bulls have engulfed the move. We still have not set that weekly higher low. Eventually, we will need to set the weekly higher low and change the weekly trend. So if we pull back into this area right here, lower 180s, all your moving averages are there, could be a juicy location for some calls. Hit the calls here and then let them run pretty much into the rest of the year, as Apple has largely regained all the momentum that it lost in the earlier portion of the year. Looking very, very good on this stock, if I do say so myself. Now, moving into AMD. So AMD is a very interesting one, guys, because it's going to be a proxy for NVIDIA earnings. Obviously, if NVIDIA earnings come out and the stock drops, expect AMD to drop as well. And if they're bullish, guys, expect AMD to run as well. So the price action on AMD on its own is going to be fairly limited, guys. I can't do too much technical analysis because if this thing moves 5, 6, 7% up or down after the earnings, none of this technical analysis that I show you guys is really going to matter at this point. The one thing I can say for sure, though, though, is that the bulls have created a ton of space in setting this daily uptrend, a ton of space above 148.39, the daily higher low. So it's going to take a lot for them to lose that, guys. We have a lot of space, right? We have pretty much 9.5% of downside before losing our daily uptrend. I don't think we lose this daily uptrend. The bulls are really entrenched in it right now, right? The most that we can probably see is an extended drawdown here, still looking for the daily higher low, and then we may get trapped in a little bit of a tightening range if ever NVIDIA earnings take a while to sort themselves out, right? However, if for whatever reason NVIDIA earnings are very bullish, you guys know exactly what's going to happen. Daily uptrend is going to continue, and then we'll be targeting our prior resistance up here at about 182. That's the extent that the bulls probably will be able to push it off of this move because they have recaptured the daily, and we are nicely above our moving averages right now, as you can see right here. And we're trying to use this previous support level. We're above that now. Ever so slightly, the bulls are trying their best to use this as support, set a base before another leg of run. Looking very, very good on the daily here, guys. And obviously, your weekly trend is going to be shifted by tomorrow's price action after NVIDIA earnings, right? Any move lower, just looking for that weekly higher low to get the weekly uptrend back. And obviously, if they push it even further, guys, well, we might just need to reset the weekly uptrend all the way up here, come up to that 182 resistance that I was talking about, and then maybe set the weekly higher low and then blast off for another new leg later on in the year. So all in all, guys, AMD setup is looking very, very juicy indeed. I already have a play. I have the 155 puts. We'll see if maybe we can take another play before earnings tomorrow. But so far, I'm happy with my 155 level. Even if I get a sign there on Friday, not too big of a deal. I like this lower level on AMD. Mid 150s all the way down to roughly 140. I'll continue to dollar cost average into the trade if ever it goes down that low. Now, moving on to Amazon. Amazon, little bit of a recovery here today. Amazon really had a hefty drop in the morning here, guys, right? And the reason for that drop was this one right here. NVIDIA stock drops on report. Amazon has fully transitioned AI chip orders. Now, essentially what this means, guys, is last quarter, NVIDIA revealed their new next generation chips that they so-called Blackwell, right? Well, there's a problem with that, right? And the problem is called the renewal cycle. It's the same thing with an iPhone. If I buy an iPhone 15, I may not need to renew my iPhone for maybe 2-3 years because the incremental bonuses of getting the new iPhone every single year may just not be worth it. The camera gets a little bit better, the battery gets a little bit better, the app functionality gets a little bit better, but is it a very crazy difference between the iPhone 13 and 15? Well, you can argue yes, but a lot of people just won't see it, right? So this is kind of the same thing. NVIDIA has their last generation of chips that they call the Hopper chips, right? And now they have the Blackwell chips. And essentially what Amazon said is they are done buying the previous generation of NVIDIA's prior chips, which NVIDIA is still selling right now, in favor of waiting for the newer, improved models, which is the Blackwell GPU models. So obviously, guys, right? Amazon being a very, very large customer of NVIDIA because of their because of their AWS systems, right? Well, that tends to have a little bit of a ripple effect through the markets, right? If they're pulling back some orders and waiting for the next generation, are other big tech companies going to do the same? That is what we're going to see on tomorrow's earnings call from NVIDIA, right? So that's why Amazon had a little bit of a drop. Amazon and NVIDIA had a little bit of a drop on that in the early morning, but was able to quickly recover. So not too much damage done indeed. Amazon, guys, currently now in a daily downtrend. So this is one of our big tech names that is in a daily downtrend, but I can't blame them too much, guys. Amazon's done a great job of holding up this market over the last month. Even though when everything else was selling off, Amazon was holding up relatively well. So now that we're in a daily downtrend on Amazon, guys, where can we look for a bit of support here? Well, just look a little bit further below here, guys. We're coming up on it right now. 177 down to about 168. I know it's a very wide range, but focus on this first level right here, 178 to about 173. That should be the extent of the damage, in my opinion. If things really get bad on Amazon stock, that is the extent of the damage that I think that the bears may be able to do. However, we are just looking right now for a weekly higher low. This is a gorgeous weekly uptrend here, guys, and no secret there, right? Clear as day. Gorgeous weekly uptrend, looking for the weekly higher low. Anything above 166 is going to be that weekly higher low for that further trend continuation. We are coming up on the 12 EMA very quickly. That is about at 180. That's the level we bounced off of this morning. And you can see Amazon's done a great job of holding up this weekly 12 EMA, for the entire part of the rally, pretty much since the start of November. So looking very good. I still do believe, guys, this 180 down to about 175 pocket, juicy location to be taking some Amazon longs, in my opinion. Not financial advice, of course. That's just how I'm going to be trading this myself. Moving on to Google now. Google, absolute monster, guys. 0.61% to the upside again. Nothing but green on Google stock for almost the last 3 weeks, right? So no secret here, guys. Daily uptrend well in motion as soon as this move is topped out. And how do you know that a move is topped out, guys? Need to see the loss of the hourly trend. No loss of the hourly trend so far. As soon as you see this and losing the moving averages as well, then you can be certain that daily consolidation is underway. And when that happens, guys, we have so much space. Anything above 166, just going to be looking for that daily higher low for further trend continuation. Target this area of confluence right here, in my humble opinion, guys. This level right here should be the one that you're eyeing right now. This whole 173, 172 pocket, prior resistance right here, and confluence with the 12 EMA could be a nice little retest before a further run. And for whatever it's reason, guys, Google joins Team Bear, just joins Team Amazon, let's say. Daily downtrend, you guys know the drill. Weekly, just looking for that weekly higher low for further trend continuation. Gorgeous, gorgeous weekly uptrend on Google right now. Nothing bad to say. I mean, we're at all-time highs, right? So the next area of resistance, you have to think psychological numbers. The next big one is going to be that 200 level. Now, moving into Meta stock. Meta coming down a little bit here, 1% on the day, and Meta's coming dangerously close to the most recent daily higher low, right? Gorgeous daily uptrend, rejection right here from our big prior area of support, and now Meta is trying to do its best to hold up this position right here. We're battling with overhead resistance in the form of the moving averages, so Meta could be one that does drop after NVIDIA earnings too. And if ever that happens, guys, if ever we crack these lows down here, set up for the daily downtrend, is it that big of a deal? No, because Meta will just be looking to maybe set the weekly higher low and try for the weekly trend change, right? We're obviously right now, we were in a weekly uptrend, and now we've lost it. So the bears, what do the bears want? They want lower high and lower low flush. I don't think that they're going to get it in these market conditions, to say the least. So in my humble opinion, we're just looking for that weekly higher low and the weekly trend change. So Meta was not able to break this resistance area on its first attempt, so it may need to come down, back down here, gather a little bit more momentum, a little bit more strength, and then smash it to the upside, something like this. That would be the likely scenario in my opinion. So if ever Meta does drop a little bit further, guys, if we come down on Meta, down to this 450 range, I probably will be making a play on Meta, probably short puts, maybe below 430 in the 430 to 420 range, and I may, because they are expensive, I may also, if we come down and tap 450, I may be making a leap call play on Meta, but maybe in the form of a debit spread call, because these options, especially $450 share price, the call options are expensive here, guys, right? So I'll be looking into that. And if ever I do make that play, I obviously will let you guys know, because it'll be a fairly big play and one that I will be holding for at least some months, right? At least let's call it about 3, 4, 5, 6 months, right? Now, moving on to Microsoft. Microsoft looking fairly decent today, 0.87% to the upside, looking pretty good, guys. Daily uptrend clearly in motion. And Microsoft actually hit a brand new all-time high today. So congratulations to the bulls out there. As soon as this move is done, we're just going to be looking for that daily higher low, anything above 418, looking for that daily higher low and a new daily, just continuation on this daily uptrend from Microsoft, right? No red flags whatsoever. If for ever it's reason, guys, we are continuously rejecting from these all-time highs and Microsoft has a little bit of a tumble, target this area right here, guys. Your moving averages, right? If we pull back in this area, all of your short-term moving averages are probably going to line up with this prior area of range resistance. We're coming back into it now, should be acting as support, and that is pretty much 415. I do believe that is maybe where the bulls might set up a weekly higher low scenario and just continue this weekly uptrend as the year moves on. No red flags at all on Microsoft. It is looking very bullish. Now moving into Netflix. Netflix, oh my goodness, guys. Netflix, what a monster. Completely smashing above all 52-week highs. And now Netflix, guys, 650, the next area of resistance is literally the all-time highs. Nothing much in form of resistance before 680, 690. Looking extremely good, guys. As soon as this move is topped out, just looking for that daily higher low for further trend continuation. And Netflix is doing exactly what I wanted it to do. It's creating a lot of space now above our previous 52-week highs, right? So let's put this about 630, 635-ish, right? Now we're nicely above that. So if ever Netflix has a little bit of fallback here into tomorrow, could be using this area as a daily higher low location to eventually push this daily uptrend higher, looking extremely, extremely good on Netflix, guys. And even if ever which reason we lose some of these levels and set a daily downtrend, so much support down here, guys, 608 all the way down to about 600, so much support, and we'll just be looking for that weekly higher low for further trend continuation. Looking extremely bullish on Netflix, guys. No red flags on any time frames whatsoever. Now moving in to NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, guys, you guys know the drill, right? NVIDIA earnings, what is the expected move? The expected move on NVIDIA right now, 7.6%. Look at these numbers, 1,025 to the upside and about 880 towards the downside, right? So keep that in mind. We have a lot of space. Where is 880? 880 is literally right about here. So it's not even quite into our big area of support. That would be 860 all the way down to about 820. This green box, guys, is well beyond the expected move, right? NVIDIA would have to drop, anywhere between 9.5% to 14% to really get all the way down here. Now, that is the unlikely scenario, guys, but you guys know market makers sometimes can be fairly nasty. You guys saw what they did to Netflix. You saw what they did to Facebook stock on the last earnings, right? And their earnings were almost picture perfect, but the guidance was not raised and substantially better than the expectations. And you guys saw what happened to Meta. Meta had a heck of a drop. And then you guys, prior to that, you guys saw what happened to Netflix as well, right? So do not be surprised if the market makers throw us for a little bit of a curveball if ever that happens. Now, obviously to the flip side, if earnings are extremely bullish and they raise guidance, well, perfect, guys. You're going to be launching to new all-time highs. Resistance is set at 1,000. And if we go to the expected move, your next point is going to be 1,025. That would give the bulls so much space, guys. If ever we go way up there, they'll be able to come back down, set the daily higher low right here, and just continue the uptrend. You may be looking for the retest trade, right? Break out of the all-time highs, breakout, retest them as support. Let me just do this properly, guys. I apologize for my lackluster lines right here, right? So break out of the all-time high, which would be around 970, right? Breakout, maybe you get a little semblance of a retest, may not get there all the way before running a bit further. That could be a juicy trade opportunity for NVIDIA. And if ever we come down into this zone right here, guys, you guys know the drill. On NVIDIA, we're just maybe looking for that weekly higher low for further trend continuation. If they're not able to continue this in one clean shot with the earnings, they may have to do the two-step process, guys. If ever NVIDIA earnings are bad, guys, I don't think it's going to be a long-term event. I think it's going to be something like Meta, where it really has a hard one-day drop, and then the bulls realize that it's a juicy opportunity and just bid up the stock. Same thing that they did for Netflix, right? Same exact thing. That would be the case in point. If NVIDIA does drop, I will be buying this one heavily down here. So moving on to Tesla now. Oh, and by the way, NVIDIA, guys, we're going to go over those options plays when we cover the trades in about 5 minutes time, actually. So moving on to Tesla. So Tesla also looking very healthy today, 6.6% to the upside. Very nice squeeze by the bulls right now. Very juicy. Daily uptrend confirmed. And this is what we were looking for here, guys. We were looking for this daily uptrend, and we finally now got it. So bulls looking very good. As soon as we see a little bit of a pullback, just going to be looking for a higher low, anything above 171.61. Higher low for further trend continuation. We're now back above our big green box of consolidation too. So I do expect the bulls to put up a heck of a fight if ever we come back and retest this 180 zone. Now, moving on to the weekly, we're starting, guys, starting to set up a weekly trend change in motion. We would need a break of about 197.50 to really get that weekly uptrend done, right? We have a lot of moving averages as resistance. So if ever we come up here, falter at 200, it creates a lot of space to come back down here, get more momentum, and start bidding up the price levels a bit more, all the way into our roughly 205 area. That's the next big area of resistance, in my opinion. So the bulls, well underway for it, controlling the daily now and looking very nice on the weekly. Could just be a case in point that maybe, just maybe, this was the bottoming out of Tesla's bearish cycle. Now, not to say that the company is going to do something like this pretty much, because it's still working against the current macro environment with high interest rates, right? But at least if we can get somewhat of a weekly uptrend going, it really leads us into the potential expansion here of maybe a monthly trend reversal at these later later half, the second half of 2025, right? So still a lot of time left for this trade, guys. No need to FOMO in just yet, in my humble opinion. Now, our two last ones, Palantir and PayPal. So Palantir looking fairly decent as well, right? 1.76% to the downside. The reason I say it's looking decent is because it's not really losing too much ground, right? We still have a good base of support down here at about 20.5, and the bulls are trying to desperately set the daily higher low to get this daily trend change in motion, but they're going to have to act soon, guys, because we're running out of space right now, right? So need to see the bulls set up for the daily trend change. How do you know that this bottoming out process is finished? Need to see the hourly trend change. If we don't get an hourly trend change, guys, don't expect the daily bulls to really start packing on that momentum to the upside. However, if we do get a little bit of daily momentum up, then we need to break 2214, break of 2214, daily uptrend underway, and then we'll probably encounter some heavy resistance around the $23 level. But at least it'll allow us to regain a little bit of space in relation to this weekly and maybe try and set up the weekly higher low. Now, I do believe that this location is still a very good opportunity to be bidding Palantir down here, right? Beautiful support, resistance should be acting as support, and this is just looking for the monthly higher low in the context of a gorgeous monthly uptrend to eventually attack that $28 level potentially later on in the year. All in all, Palantir is still looking good. As long as it stays down here, I will continue to play the heck out of short puts. Now, lastly, PayPal. PayPal down about 1% today, but also just consolidating towards lows here, right? So daily downtrend still pretty much was trying to be countered by the bulls, right? But they're not doing too good of a job. They can't get the daily uptrend underway. For that, we would really need a clean break of 65.50. So far, that has not happened. So we're still just kind of sideways range bound towards the lower end, really tangled up with all of your moving averages right now. The big base of support, guys, is pretty much 63 down to 61. And that is probably the location that I will trade PayPal a bit more if we come down into it. This is kind of in no man's land right now. I would need to see these levels for a trade opportunity. And obviously on the weekly, guys, the weekly is kind of muddied as well right now, right? Very sideways choppy action right now, just a sideways tightening range on the weekly. So eventually we will probably have a catalyst that breaks PayPal up or down out of this range, but it may not come soon, guys. They already had their earnings, so there's really not that much to look out for on this stock unless we have a broad fintech market rally. So when we have that, guys, think PayPal, think Square, think SoFi. So far, none of these stocks have really done much in the last month and a half, right? Square hasn't really done much in the past month and a half. SoFi really hasn't done much in the past month and a half. And even PayPal, right? The market is just not there for fintech stocks just yet, as they are part of that, the part of the growth category, right? A lot of the basis is on growth. A lot of these companies, not PayPal necessarily, but a few of them do have high amounts of debt. It's just not a favorable trade for Wall Street right now. I like them myself, but Wall Street still is not convinced. So PayPal just really muted right now. So that's pretty much everything we had for our stock market recap today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Now let's jump into my trades and some juicy options trade strategies on NVIDIA. All right, guys, so taking a look at the trades that we made yesterday, closed some of them today, and then we made some new plays for the day as well. So in terms of the ones that we closed yesterday, you guys know that I had the Palo Alto earnings play. We closed that for a nice little profit. We also had the Lowe's play. We closed that for a tiny profit, but this was one that I kind of mismanaged a little bit here today, guys. We'll talk about it. And then we did close a few calls on the JP Morgans, closed those at a nice profit. And we did close the JP Morgan short puts for next week, the 192.5s as well. The profit for all of yesterday's trades here, guys, all right here. Lowe's, a little bit of a mismanaged trade, I will admit here, guys. We were actually nicely in profit in this one over the course of the day, but Lowe's really threw us for a curveball here, guys. Open really low, had a nice little recovery. So when I saw we had a nice little recovery, I thought that probably we were safe. The contract at that point was trading for roughly 20 cents. And what happened thereafter is I pretty much gave back all of the gains. And at this point, when my contract was approaching my break-even price, I did not want to make this trade into a loss at all. So I pretty much cut the position right here. We were able to get about $4 from this. I could have closed this trade for about 10-15 cents and realized about $50 in profit. Unfortunately, guys, I waited a little bit too long and we had to take a slight little profit. One thing's for sure, I did not want to take a loss. The stock did recover thereafter intraday, yesterday, but it could have gone any which way, guys. The strike was still a little bit close right down here, 217.50. So I just did not want to take the chance, especially when I want to use that same capital for a lot of the plays that we have coming up tomorrow, such as NVIDIA and Elf Beauty, right? So I just took a little bit of a break-even trade on that one, but it does happen sometimes. The other ones were fairly juicy, though. We did make about $55 here, almost pretty much 90% profit on the Palo Alto trade, and we did have a nice little close profit here on the JP Morgan 2 weeks out. We were literally just looking for the bounce play on this, closed about 20 bucks there, and we did close about 40 bucks on the JP Morgan calls. You can see those calls, I believe that they're right down here, so you guys can see that we did close those calls here for about 95 cents after picking them up for an average cost of about 75 cents yesterday. As you can see, didn't get the best fill on my calls yesterday, but I was happy to walk away with, you know, about 20% profit on those calls. The calls were for Friday, so I didn't really want to overdo it. Once again, we were really just looking to play that bounce off of oversold conditions on JP Morgan, and I pretty much cut them first thing in the morning. So my goal, guys, as you know, is to make roughly as close as possible to, well, you know, over $200 a day. Didn't quite hit that. If we would have hit the lows one properly yesterday, probably would have got closer to $200, but we do have still a lot of premium left on the table that we just haven't closed yet, right? So in terms of closed profit, about 120 bucks. Not the greatest day, but not a bad day nonetheless, right? If you can make $200 a day every single day trading, guys, it's a very, very good yearly ROI. It's pretty much a yearly salary, right? So looking very, very good on those. And we did open a few new trades on the course of the day today. We went with the Toll Brothers 120s for the earnings play. We got about 30 cents for those. That was fairly far away from the strike price on Toll Brothers, right? So Toll Brothers currently prior to the market close was trading about 130. We went all the way down here at the 120 strike. The expected move, 120 is all the way about down here, right? We went with the 120s. The expected move was about 3.5%. So I went roughly, you know, let's call it about 6% away, 7% away. So I did go twice the expected move. Didn't get that much premium, but tomorrow this should be free money in our pockets. We also went with the TJX 92 puts. TJX, although they are a retailer, guys, they do have a number of brands that do cater to a lower end consumer. So I'm at least looking to that for a little bit of protection. We went with the 92s. The 92s, guys, are all the way down here at this gorgeous, gorgeous level. Prior resistance, current support. This is the level that I'm targeting, guys. The expected move on TJX is about 3%. So I did go a little bit further than that. We went with about 5.5% to the downside. So we'll see what happens with those. Fairly confident in this position. Got about 28 cents for them. And we did go with the target earnings as well. I know, not supposed to play target, but we did go fairly conservative on target. We went with the 138 strike. You can see that right here. The expected move on target was about 6% up or down. And going with the 138s, guys, we're almost roughly 2 times that at about 11.5. 138 is a fairly good level here of support here, guys, right? The 138 is prior support back here. It is a decent little area of congestion over here. So I am looking for this level to at least hold up for a first touch scenario over the course of the week. Not looking too bad. We'll see what happens, or if ever I get blasted away by another consumer discretionary trade gone wrong. I'm fairly confident in this one, guys, but obviously you guys know anything can happen. We got about 32 cents for those. Now, moving on, we went with Square. Square was not an earnings play for any which reason, but Square did have a nice little drop here today of about 3.5, almost 4% at one point. So at the depths of the morning down here, when we have 1 hour oversold conditions, I went with the 68 puts. 68 puts is a really nice zone down here, guys. It's really a start of gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous level of support for Square. And I did think that was a fairly juicy level. So I went with one put contract. We got 36 cents, which does respect our weekly 0.5% rule. This is just a normal put wheel trade. And then our last one that we added, all the rest, when you don't see a little blue dot here, it means that they're prior plays from yesterday, right? This one right here is a new play as well. AMD, as I was saying in the video, went with the 155. So we got about 66 cents for them. I'll show you that on the chart again. The expected move on NVIDIA, it was in my top 5 options plays. Expected move on NVIDIA for the week is about 156, and we went $1 lower at about 155. So we'll see what happens after the NVIDIA earnings tomorrow for AMD stock specifically, guys. But all in all, happy with my positions. Still a lot of premium left on the table to be collected after tomorrow's trade session, right? So looking fairly good leading into the week so far. Now, let's get into some juicy NVIDIA trades, shall we? All right, guys, so let's go over a few NVIDIA trade ideas for the upcoming earnings, right? The problem number one with NVIDIA is that the stock is obviously expensive. So if we're trying to do straight calls or straight puts, it's going to be a fairly expensive endeavor, right? You can see the cost of the puts, even slightly out of the money puts, guys, will still cost you $2,000, $2,500 a pop. And the same thing for slightly out of the money calls, right? If we're going in relation to the expected move, let's call it 7.5% of the upside, so 1,026 or 881, even if you were to target straight calls and puts at those expected moves. So calls at the 1,025 level for Friday, guys, it's going to be expensive, $14, which means that your break even is 1,025 plus 14. So you would need the stock to close at least to 1,040 for you to break even on this trade, let alone profit. That is very expensive. And to the downside, the same thing, right? If we're going for the expected move to the downside, 881 or lower, well, those put options are going to cost you a pretty penny as well. They're all the way up here. They're going to cost you roughly $1,000, $1,100. That, and then your break even would be $10 below that, right? So they would need to go below 870 for you to make a single dollar of profit. Obviously an expensive endeavor, right? However, that is where potential spreads come in, because even someone like me who's used to playing short puts on these guys, even if I were to go a little bit lower here, guys, and target this 850, 860 zone that I've been kind of harping about this whole time, right? 850 to around 860, big support. Even someone like me, guys, to play short puts on this, I would have to put up $85,000 of capital for about $500 in premium. Now, the premium is fairly juicy. However, that's a very large cost of capital. So what we may want to do in this opportunity, guys, is to do spreads. And when we go with spreads, we need to give them a little bit more time to play out. So I'll be looking at the June 14th, which are pretty much 3.5 weeks out at this point, because if ever NVIDIA has a little bit of a drop here, similar to Meta and Netflix, you guys can see how long that recovery sometimes can take, right? Sometimes it can take about 2 or 3 weeks time to really start manifesting back in our overall direction. So if we're looking to make a play on the short put side, so option number one is going to be making what we call a put credit spread. So that is going to be trying to target the lower end of the expected move right here. Let's call it 880. Let's go a little bit below, right? Just to give ourselves a margin of safety. I'll personally be targeting between the 860s and 850s. So in terms of the correct, and in terms of the put credit spread, what that would look like is we may be looking to sell the 860s for $16 right here, and then go one strike lower, the 855s, and buy those puts. So we're selling the 860 puts and buying the 855 puts. That gives us what we call a put credit spread. Now, the maximum loss on this is going to be $500 minus the premium received. So your maximum loss on this will be pretty much $500 minus the premium that you receive, about $117 for this. So that would be your maximum loss. The maximum loss on this trade, if for whatever reason the stock closes under 855 in 3 weeks, you would lose $383 outright. Nothing to do. It would just be gone. However, if it closes above 860 in the next 3 weeks, you would just pocket $1.17 for every single one of these contracts that you write. This is one single credit spread. Obviously, you can do more than that if you want to, right? Just keep in mind, every single one of these spreads that you do right, you will be collecting $117 and risking about $383 total to the downside, right? So that's just one way that I'm going to be playing this potentially myself tomorrow. And if you want to be a little bit more conservative, guys, you can go even lower, right? You can target maybe the 840s and the 835s. Obviously, the further down you go, the thinner and thinner that this premium gets, right? As you can see, the put credit spread between 840 and 835 only gives you about 94 cents of total credit towards this trade, right? So just adjust depending on your sentiment to NVIDIA stock and your risk appetite if this is something that interests you. Now, the next thing that we can do, obviously, guys, this is a bullish strategy, right? Because we're expecting the stock to stay above a certain level by the time this trade concludes. Now, the second type of strategy that we can maybe use is the one that we're targeting the upside. So obviously there's a chance that the stock roars to the upside as well, right? Same thing though, buying straight out calls may be a little bit expensive, especially even if we're going 3 weeks out, guys, and we're targeting over $1,000. Look at the cost of these calls, not cheap at all, right? $3,500, $3,000 per call contract. I know you guys have a lot of risk appetite, but still, that is expensive if ever you're wrong, right? So what we can do to mitigate the cost of this trade is once again do a call debit spread, meaning it is kind of like doing a call, but you offset some of the cost of the bought call by selling a call to counteract some of that cost. Now, a trade idea may be something like this. If we're expecting the stock to come up here into the 1,026 range and maintain above there in the next 3 weeks, there could be a trade opportunity as follows. Let's target the 1,025. So we would buy this call right here, and then maybe we would try and sell the 1,035. So we would get a $10 spread between the two, and the total cost of this trade would be about $2.71. So times 100, it'll be about $271 per contract. A lot more manageable in terms of the cost, right? And then you might ask, well, what is the profit? Well, the profit is right down here, guys. If ever the stock closes above 1,035 in 3 weeks' time, well, you would collect the maximum premium, the maximum profit target on this options trade, which would be about $660 at the peak of it. As soon as it gets over 1,035, you can see here that irrespective of what the stock does after that, you would collect maximum profit. So yes, we do cap the profit to the upside, but as that is the opportunity cost, right, of getting into the trade for a lot cheaper. We're only spending $200 roughly, right? $270, $300 for this trade, but our potential profit is indeed a 2x. And you can go, in multiple versions of this contract. You can write 2, 3, 4 call debit spreads for these. So this is probably going to be a strategy that I will be using. And obviously, guys, if you think that the stock is going to be higher than that in the next 3 weeks, we'll just push out your debit spread a little bit further, right? You can go with something like the 1,040s and then sell maybe the 1,050s. That will be a total cost of about $240 per contract here per debit spread, and your maximum profit target would be about $705. So that's even closer to about a 3x, right? So it gets juicier as you move down and down the strikes, but obviously the potential of it getting up there, guys, is a bit restricted, right? So it's all a question. It's an art form, truly. It really depends on how high you think this one's going to move. I usually go with the expected move, right? You can see here that it does calculate the expected move 1, 2, 3 weeks out, depending on how earnings plays out. So that's usually how I go with this, right? You can see that the 3 weeks out one, well, the one that we're targeting right here around June 20. We're at the June 14th options, right? So you can see the June 14th option right around here is currently targeting about 1,054 to the upside. That is really best case scenario. So I'm going to be basing most of my debit spreads in terms of calls around those areas. So that's just a quick little way to get in to this earnings play for a little bit cheaper, guys, if you have a bullish lean on the stock, right? Obviously, if you have a bearish lean on the stock, well, the two strategies that I said, just do them in reverse, right? Instead of doing a call debit spread, which is a bullish strategy, if you really think the stock is going to go down, well, you may be targeting a put debit spread, right? You may be doing something you may be going a little bit shorter though, because NVIDIA, I do think even though they may come down, they may have a little quick rebound right here. So you may have to shorten down the dates, but you may go for a debit spread down here. Let's say we go for, 1 week out type of thing, right? If you expect it to be all the way down here, you may go with something with the, buy the 905 puts and then sell something like the 900s, right? Your total cost of the trade would be $1.74. And if ever it closes below 900 within the next 10 days, well, then you guys would be guaranteed roughly a profit target of around $285 per contract, right? So that is just a quick way for the reverse part of it. And obviously, if you don't think that the stock will close anywhere close above the expected move to the upside, well, then there's also the possibility of maybe writing some call credit spreads to the upside. And those are good, really, the shorter duration that you have them. So call credit spreads could be anywhere between, you could pretty much do in terms of the credit spreads, right, you would probably maybe write something like the 1,035s and then to the upside, the 1,040s. That would give you a net credit of about $1, but you would be risking $5, right? So your net cost of the trade, your net maximum loss would be about $400. But if ever you're right, you would collect that $100. Those are just the flip side trades of the bullish ones that I just showed. So those are just a few ideas of how to play NVIDIA stock for a little bit cheaper. Obviously, the strike prices and the duration is all up to your risk appetite and your potential expectation of where NVIDIA can possibly move after. So hopefully that was educational for all you guys in that respect, right? So if you did enjoy this video, guys, that's pretty much all I had for you. Consider dropping a like, would really appreciate it for the growth of the channel. And also consider subscribing, guys. We do these videos every Monday through Friday after the close. So if you enjoy this type of content, consider subscribing and we will see you in the future videos. And obviously, guys, if you have any questions whatsoever, as usual, feel free to leave me a question or a comment down below. Anything you want, stocks, options, macro analysis, anything you want, leave it down below and I'll be happy to answer your question, usually within the first 24 hours. Take care, guys. See you tomorrow after the close. Peace. And of course, after NVIDIA earnings, when we do the video tomorrow night, depending on which way it moves, I will be giving more plays onto how to play the after effect of the NVIDIA earnings, right? So take care, guys. See you tomorrow after the close. Big day tomorrow. Take care. Have fun. Peace.